Welcome to Go Long Live with Barry Long 2. I am Barry Long 2. Don't forget the 2. Shout out to Craig Campbell. How you doing, Craig?
Hey, I'm doing excellent, man. I love your show, and this is going to be a great one. I know you've been prepared, and I cannot wait for us to be able to have you do this right now, 3 times a week. Take it away, my friend.
Absolutely. Thank you so much to CoachellaValley.com for the platform. Thank you to Craig Campbell for everything that you do. If you are watching, please comment, subscribe, do anything. Just let's get right into it. We're gonna talk sports. And last night was a tough time for a lot of sports fans in the NBA world, watching Giannis Antetokounmpo. And this is the video of his injury last night. And you can just look at the agony on his face. You can see the agony on Budenholzer's face. And a lot of people have talked about, this season, LeBron James recently just spoke about how crazy it is that, the players had a shortened season, but because it was condensed. It wasn't shortened by games. It was condensed by the timeline. So they were playing, every other night. And we saw a lot of superstars in the NBA go out with injuries. But look at this hyperextension of that left knee. Just makes you kind of just quiver. And Giannis Antetokounmpo is one of the best basketball players in the world, okay? And, he's affectionately known as the Greek Freak, possibly because he's from Greece, I don't know, and because he's an athletic freak. He's 6'11", 240 pounds, the wingspan of an eagle, just a ridiculous athletic ability that he has. And he was, of course, we all know he was the MVP 2 years in a row. He also won Defensive Player of the Year the same year that he was MVP. The only other two people to do that were Hakeem Olajuwon and Michael Jordan. So that lets you know how important he is to the game, and especially right now where you've lost a lot of different stars, from some of the top teams. You don't have Kawhi Leonard playing for the Clippers right now. You lost AD for the Lakers. You lost LeBron James for quite some time. So we've seen a lot of injuries from players in the NBA right now. But Giannis Antetokounmpo is an athletic freak. I mean, there's just no other player like him. And he kind of reminds me of LeBron James when LeBron James was with the Miami Heat and that second stint with the Cleveland Cavaliers, because my man was unstoppable. You could not stop LeBron James from getting to the hoop, like at all. You could not stop him. And, of course, he has aged like fine wine over the last few years. He's learned how to sustain that longevity. If you want to play for a long time in the NBA, in the NFL, in any sport, you must age gracefully. Shout out to Shelly Alex, LeBron. I'm a LeBron fan all day. But yeah, LeBron was unstoppable. And he had to develop a jump shot. He had to develop his passing skills a little bit more in order to sustain longevity in the league. And that is what Giannis Antetokounmpo has been doing. It needs to continue to keep doing. Shout out to Blake Brady. He says comparing him to Miami LeBron. Yes, I am comparing him to Miami LeBron. Giannis Antetokounmpo cannot be stopped. All right, he's a defensive wizard. I mean, he's athletic. He can get to the hoop. He can get to the hoop at any time. Nobody can stop him. The only weakness I would say that Giannis has in his game is shooting the basketball. And I know it's basketball. You got to learn how to shoot the basketball. But when you're 6'11", 240, and nobody can stop you getting to the paint, then that is not as big of a problem as it is, let's say, a Ben Simmons. And we're going to talk about Ben Simmons next episode because Philadelphia has some questions that they need to answer in this offseason. But let's get back to the game last night. So no Trae Young for the Atlanta Hawks. Giannis Antetokounmpo was playing okay. They didn't play, that well. As you can see, they lost 110 to 88. My biggest takeaway from this game was the points in the paint. So if you look at the points in the paint at the bottom of the stat screen, you see that it's pretty even, 44 to 46. Now, the first 3 games, Atlanta was dominated in the paint by Milwaukee. And Giannis was getting to the hoop. They had, Robin Lopez. Even Chris Middleton was getting into the paint and shooting mid-range shots. They dominated. They won the points in the paint battle by at least 20 or 30 in all the first 3 games. Yesterday wasn't like that. And it's kind of hard to really understand the dynamic of Milwaukee if they don't have Giannis Antetokounmpo. Look at that face. Oh, look at that face. That a grown man, people that were sitting courtside were saying that you could hear him screaming at the top of his lungs. It was kind of hard to watch, hard to listen to, and see. Such an athletic, gifted freak of nature to be in such pain, and it definitely sounded a lot more serious than just a hyperextension. I mean, we could be talking about an MCL, ACL. We could be talking about a lot of different things that could be going along with that. So we'll find out later on today whether or not he's going to be able to return. But the main thing about this Milwaukee team is that Giannis Antetokounmpo is basically essentially their main ball handler. He drives to the basket and he can kick it to his shooters. Milwaukee was smart by putting shooters around him and building a team quite like, the teams had to be built around LeBron. Miami LeBron. Yes, I am Blake Brady comparing Giannis Antetokounmpo to Miami LeBron. Okay? Because what did they do in Miami? They surrounded him with shooters. They had shooters all over the place. They had Shane Battier in the corner. They had Ray Allen in the corner. They had Mike Miller, who didn't even play. They had James Johnson. They had shooters. So this is what Milwaukee has. They have Chris Middleton. They have Drew Holiday. Now, they did lose DiVincenzo earlier in the playoffs, and he's a shooter as well. But these two right here, Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton. Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton, it is up to these two guys to step up and really be that number 2 and number 3 that people have been debating all season, whether or not these guys can get it done with Giannis or he can get it done with them. Chris Middleton had 39 points last game. 39 points and 7 assists. Ugh. Okay? But then he follows that up with 16 points. We can't have that. Can't have that, Chris Middleton. We can't. Drew Holiday, last game, game 3, Drew Holiday had a measly 6 points, but he had 12 assists. So he was doing his thing in other ways besides just shooting the basketball and scoring the basketball. But what we're going to need to see from these two guys is these two guys are going to have to step up and be that Batman and Robin. Chris Middleton is fully capable of leading a team in scoring, but I'm not sure if he's capable of leading a team to a championship. So without Giannis Antetokounmpo, it's going to be an uphill battle for this Milwaukee Bucks team. And just looking at the dynamics of the Hawks, you got your boy Trae Young, who was not playing. Trae Young had an injury in game 3, stepped on an official's shoe and kind of tweaked that ankle. He has a bone bruise. So there you go. That's another superstar that's out with an injury that we're watching. But yeah, so no Trae Young. And you had to have a big performance from a lot of different stars on the Hawks. You have Lou Williams that had to step into that starting point guard role. You have Bogdanovich, my man right there, who I'm gonna elaborate on a little bit. But I just want to shout out some of the other Hawks that stepped up to the plate in Trae Young's absence. You had a sighting from Cam Reddish. Okay, we're all my Duke fans out there. Cam Reddish was on that team with Zion Williamson and RJ Barrett. These were 3 freshmen that were one and dones, and they were a dominant team. And Zion Williamson, of course, made an impact immediately when he came into the NBA. But RJ Barrett and Cam Reddish were also first-round draft picks that same season. And RJ Barrett, it took him a while. He's on the New York Knicks. As we saw the New York Knicks ascend to the playoffs this year, RJ Barrett was a big part of that. Took him a couple years to get his footing in the league. But, hey, he's making an impact now. Cam Reddish was that third wheel that really wasn't making an impact in the league. And we actually saw a Cam Reddish sighting last night. Cam Reddish poured in with points. Kevin Huerter poured in with points. But the main person is this guy right here on your screen, Bogdanovich. He is the X factor to me in this series. Now, if you don't know anything about Bogdanovich, just know that there's another guy named Bogdanovich that is not related to him. This guy's from Serbia. He had a decorated career when he played overseas. He's about 28 years old, but he played in the Turkish league, the Euro League. He played in Serbia, and this guy was the MVPs. I mean, you talk about MVPs, you talk about championships, you talk about defensive players of the year awards. I mean, he has a long list of accolades from playing overseas. So then he made that transition over into America, into the NBA, and it was a smooth transition. He was known as a shooter when he first came into the Kings, but it's a very unique situation right here with Bogdanovich. If we could pop him back up on the screen, because when he was leaving the Kings, he was actually being pursued by the Milwaukee Bucks, the team he's playing against right now. And the trade was blocked because of some tampering issues. And apparently he didn't want to go to Milwaukee. He wanted to go to Atlanta. He wanted to play with Trae Young. So Bogdanovich could easily be on the other side of this series. He could be on the Milwaukee Bucks as one of their shooters. But right now, excuse me, he's on the Atlanta Hawks. And that's the life that he chose. But he is going to be my X factor in this series because he can do a lot of different things. He can shoot the three. He has really good vision. He's an assist king if he wants to be. If he wants to step into that role, he can. He can lead your team in assists. And he's just going to have to. He's really going to have to step up because this is going to be a big series. Now, I'm not sure whether or not Trae Young is going to return from that bone bruise. I'm not sure if Giannis Antetokounmpo is going to return from that hyperextended knee. So what we're going to have to see in this series, look at that face. Oh, man. He just looks like he's in so much pain. And his brother had to help him off the court. It was sad. It was sad to watch. It's always sad when a star goes down, but when Giannis, he won the last two MVPs before this season. When you lose arguably the biggest star in the game in a way like that, it's just really, really depressing and really devastating. But this is going to be the series where we're going to have to see those second fiddles, those number 2 and number 3 guys step up. So, like I said, you're going to have to see big performances again from Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday. Chris Middleton, we need that 39 points from you, like you did in Game 3. Now, with that being said, I know that I was on the Bucks bandwagon as far as them getting to the championship, but when I look at the rest of the team around the superstars, I really don't know if I can go with the Bucks. I really think that this might be Hawks in 7. It's going 7 regardless. But I think that, it's going 7, and I think that it's going 7 Hawks. Okay. Shout out to Blake Brady. That is my guy. One of my really good friends, Joshua. He's commenting. He's coming in with all the hot shot. He said he thinks the Bucks are still going to beat the Hawks, especially if Trey is not playing. I didn't know that we gave him a nickname. His nickname is I thought it was Ice Trey, but yeah, like I said, Bogdanovich. You watch Bogdanovich, and that could be the X factor in this series. So I just want to thank everybody right now who's tuning in and everybody who's commenting. And once again, this is Go Long Live with Barry Long 2. Don't forget the 2. And shout out to Craig Campbell for everything that he does, making everything possible. And thank you to CoachellaValley.com for allowing us to do our show on this platform. How you doing, Craig?
I'm doing excellent. How are you guys doing?
We're doing well.
I saw that video. It was super intense. It seems like in the playoffs so far this year that injuries have really played a role. Of course, being out here in California, the Lakers, starting with the Lakers, there were issues and going on. CP3, of course, in the Clippers Suns game, and so many different injuries, as you were just pointing out. We showed the video. It's really changing the dynamics and the complexion of these games. I think what it says to me is that a lot of these teams that are building teams around 2 people, they're going to need to get deeper. You're going to have to figure out ways to win in the NBA with deeper teams. You're probably going to have 4 guys. You need 3. I think 3 to win any NBA game, but you got to have a couple of superstars to do it. And you get one player out. CP3 makes such a huge difference. And of course, Kyrie. And on and on. I mean, could go on and on about how that affects the dynamics of the games. It's too bad that the injuries come in because it'd be really neat if we could see the teams at 100% literally play each other. But that's not the nature of the game, and I think the NBA is going to have to figure out a way. Teams are going to have to really figure out a way to go 4 and 5 deep as we go on because you're just seeing injuries everywhere. I don't even know if people are targeted. I don't think they're really targeted. But, these guys are big. pretty easy to get hurt. You know, a knee, an ankle, any of these types of injuries that seem to be plaguing a lot of the teams. So that's my input.
Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, that's a really good point. And when you look at the dynamic of just the league in general, and when you go, first of all, when you go to an NBA game or you go to any professional sports event, you want to see the superstars. You pay to see LeBron James. You're not going to go. You don't want to get a Lakers ticket to go watch. Just somebody who's on the bench, Dennis Schroeder, and he's a starter. You want to go to the game to see LeBron James. You want to see Anthony Davis. You don't want to go see the Brooklyn Nets to go see Joe Harris and DeAndre Jordan. You want to go to the Brooklyn Nets game so you can see Kyrie, KD, James Harden. And because of the pandemic and the fact that they had to push the playoffs back last season, and the bubble and just the intensity of the bubble, and then the short turnaround to this season, a lot of the NBA players and a lot of people around the league believe that has contributed to these injuries. And you're right, it is devastating to see, playoffs without the stars. I mean, the casual basketball fan does not want to tune in to a game and watch the Hawks versus the Bucks and Giannis and Trae Young aren't playing, because the casual basketball fan may know who Chris Middleton is, but they don't know who anybody else is on the team. And it is a shame that we are seeing so many stars this season go down with injuries. And it's one team that is really plagued the most in this postseason has been the Los Angeles Clippers. All right, the Clippers have been playing. They played the most games out of any team that's left in the playoffs right now because of losing games, and you have to go to Game 7. They went to Game 7 in the first round. They went to Game 7 in the second round. Okay, and they've also lost their star, Kawhi Leonard, to an ACL injury. We're not sure whether it's a torn ACL, partially torn. All we know is that it's an ACL injury, and Kawhi Leonard's camp has been known to ceremoniously keep things away from his team, from the teammates, from the media. So we never really know with Kawhi Leonard, but we do know that he is out, and Paul George has had to step up. And Paul George, he gets a lot of flack. They call him Playoff P because he called himself Playoff P one time. And this is the joke, that the running joke in the NBA is that he's not Playoff P because he has struggled in the playoff games. But what Playoff P did last night or 2 nights ago, was absolutely incredible. 41 points, 6 assists, 13 rebounds in the absence of Kawhi Leonard. They have a lot of injuries, and they're just one of those things where he had to step up to the plate, and he did. And they didn't even have Zubas. They need Zubas. That's one of their centers. One of their main rebounders, and they didn't have him. And what does Playoff P do? He comes in and he goes out and gets 13 rebounds. They have role players who step up, like Reggie Jackson dropping 23 points. DeMarcus Cousins, who had to step in the absence of Zubas. What did he do? He kind of played like DeMarcus Cousins of old before the injuries. So the Clippers are so depleted. I just want you to know this. The Clippers are so depleted that they play players who real basketball fans, not casual basketball fans, real basketball fans don't even know. Tyronn Lue had to play guys like Yogi Ferrell. Yogi Ferrell got in the game. A guy named Jay Scrubb. You can't make this up. His last name is spelled SCRUBB, Scrub. And he must be a scrub because I've never heard of him. So shout out to Jay Scrub. But yeah, they're forced to. Tyronn Lue is forced to play with the minimum, and he needs the maximum effort out of Paul George, and that's what he's been getting. Now, when you look at the Clippers and the way that they've been down in this playoffs, they were down 0-2 to the Mavs, they were down 0-2 to the Jazz, and they came back and won both of those series. They're the only NBA team in NBA history that has come back in multiple series from after being down 0-2. Okay, Tyronn Lue is the head coach that made that possible. All right, Tyronn Lue also is the only coach to come back from down 3-1. If you remember back when he was the coach of the LeBron James-led Cavaliers against that crazy team from the Golden State Warriors, when you had KD, you had Clay, you had Steph Curry, you had Draymond Green, you had Iguodala. This was the coach that led that team from a 3-1 deficit. So if anybody can do it, I know for a fact that Ty Lue can do it. And I, whatever he says to them or whatever adjustments that he's made in these playoff series where he's down, for some reason he gets the best out of his players when they're up against the wall. So I fully do expect them to put up a fight, but I think that this playoff series and just this playoffs in general, it feels like it's all setting up for Chris Paul to win his first NBA championship. And I couldn't be more happy to see Chris Paul. Okay, she said spell it again. Shout out to Shelly Alex, who is tuning in and is commenting. I'm not sure what spell it again means, but you let me know what to spell and I'll spell it out. I can't spell Antetokounmpo though. Okay. All right. So So I think that the injuries to Giannis Antetokounmpo, obviously if the Bucks advance, they may not have him. They may not have him in the next series moving forward, but I think that it's all setting up for Chris Paul to win his first NBA championship. And Chris Paul, who's been in the league for CP3's been in the league for a long time. And he, as many of you might know, he is the president of the Players Association, the NBA Players Association. So he has a lot of respect from a lot of players around the league. A lot of people just see him on the State Farm commercials. And, you're just like, oh, that dude from the State Farm commercials. No, this guy has been in the league, and he's been one of my favorite players to watch of all time. Of all time. I played point guard as a kid, and, growing up, and I've always identified myself with the smallest guy on the court. And a lot of times he is the smallest guy on the court, but just watching him progress from I saw him play live when he was at West. Oh, man, I'm drawing a blank right now. Wake Forest. He played Wake Forest. Okay, so when he was at Wake Forest, I was at VCU, and I got a chance to watch him play live, and he was absolutely incredible. He controls the game, the pace of the game. He plays hard on defense. He gets the best out of his players. He puts his teammates in positions to be successful. So he's been doing this. He was a Rookie of the Year his first year in the league. Every team that he goes to, their record has improved each and every single year. So Chris Paul is definitely a very special player. And this is a very special time for him because he comes to this team after being in Oklahoma City with a bunch of young players with a rebuilding roster. Yes, Wake Forest. He was with Wake Forest with a rebuilding roster. He got that team to the playoffs. He got that team to the bubble. All right. And it took them a while to get out of there. I think they lost in 7 games in the bubble, and that was a very, very unknown team. But what Chris Paul does is he goes to a team, he leads these young players, he has them believe in themselves, and like you said, like I said, he comes to Phoenix and he makes that young core around him better. You got Devin Booker, who's a star. You got DeAndre Ayton, who's a star. You got Mikal Bridges, who is an up-and-coming star. And Chris Paul comes there. They didn't make the playoffs last year. Chris Paul comes there, and all of a sudden, boom, they're in the playoffs. But they are in the Western Conference Finals, 1 game away from being in the NBA Finals. And if we could pop that image back up on the screen, Craig, DeAndre Ayton had something beautiful to say about Chris Paul and his leadership. He says, I love CP3, man. That's really the only teammate that really pushed me, like big bro type push. I think he was the best thing that happened to my career. And that is just a beautiful, beautiful statement, made about a great player, a leader on the court. But yeah, Chris Paul literally makes, players around him better. And you don't see that with every single point guard in the league. I mean, one that can score like he can. Russell Westbrook is not considered. He's considered one of the best, but Russell Westbrook does not make his teammates better around him like Chris Paul does. There's a lot of point guards out there, but there are none quite like Chris Paul. And to see him win a championship, to see him hoist that up at the end of the season, would be one of the greatest things that I've ever seen in sports. And I'm pretty sure that there will be tears. He might not be like Cleveland, or like LeBron James did when he won, or like Kevin Garnett did when he won his first championship. Anything's possible. But he definitely will. I think he'll definitely shed some tears. And the Phoenix Suns fans, they deserve it, man. The Phoenix Suns fans, they deserve it. We talked about Cleveland not having any championships for that many years. They made a 30-30 documentary about it. Cleveland finally won their championship, right? But let's talk about Phoenix. Phoenix is a town that is starving for a title. Okay, Phoenix is a town that has zero. The Phoenix Coyotes, 0 Stanley Cups. The Arizona Cardinals, 0 Super Bowls. The Phoenix Suns, 0 NBA championships. The Arizona Diamondbacks, which is also in Phoenix, just one Major League World Series title, and that was in 2001. So they haven't won a championship for 19 years. And let's face it, baseball isn't the most popular sport out of the top 4 major sports. And they probably go football, basketball, baseball, and then hockey. But these people won a championship, and that stadium is lit. That stadium is lit. You see, that stadium almost has like a Cameron Indoor Stadium type feel, like a college town type feel. And the fans are passionate. They really are. And speaking of passionate fans, Phoenix definitely deserves a championship. But speaking of passionate fans, I want to just shout out really quick this guy who's become affectionately known on social media as the Suns in 4 guy. Now there was an altercation that happened up in the nosebleed section. Now this is between a Suns fan and 2 Nuggets fans. That's why I really love that clip, because I mean, this guy is such a diehard fan, and he basically fights 2 guys. They try to jump him and they try to sucker punch him. He gets the best of him, and then at the end of the altercation, he goes Suns in 4. So this guy is really passionate about his team, and we don't condone violence here on CoachellaValley.com or on Go Long Live with Very Long too. But what we do condone is great social media stories. So this Suns in 4 guy has blown up. He's been invited. He's been given tickets to the rest of the season for the Suns. He got reached out to by Devin Booker. There's an action figure of him, like Suns in 4, like the WWE little action figures that you used to have, the little wrestlers. There's an action figure of him. And they made T-shirts, and pop that image right back that we just had. Yeah, so this guy he gets mobbed everywhere he goes. Everywhere he goes, every city he goes to, or every place he goes to in that city in Phoenix, they stop this man on the street and they want to take a picture. So shout out to the Suns in 4 guy. You can tell, that he's been a fan for a long time. He's got the throwback jersey. It looks like he bought it probably back in the early 2000s, maybe late 90s. It's a Steve Nash jersey. So this guy clearly has been a Phoenix Suns fan for a long time. And, for all the things about social media that people get upset about, we talk about how these players mess up their careers by liking certain things, by posting things back in their past when they were in high school that they forgot to delete before they became famous, for just all the things, the cancel culture, for everything that social media has a negative connotation around surrounding sports. This is what social media is all about. This is what makes social media so great. It's because a guy like this can be, and I'm not sure if he got arrested. I don't think any charges were filed, because he basically was getting jumped and handled his own. But he says Suns in 4, and then it just splashes around all across the internet. Sorry, live TV. We are live. It splashes all across the internet, and next thing you know, this guy has become a household name, and definitely one of the Phoenix Suns heroes of this postseason. So if they do win the championship, he might be on the podium. So you might see Suns in 4 guy on the podium, especially if they win the NBA Finals in 4 games. So that is an incredible story. And yeah, I'm excited about tonight's game. We have some really good basketball on tonight. We're going to see the Chris Paul led Phoenix Suns versus the LA Clippers led by Paul George, and it should be a doozy tonight because the Clippers, it's in Staples Center. Chris Paul is very familiar with Staples Center. Spent many years there. If you remember the Lob City team with him, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, Doc Rivers was the coach. So he has a lot of great memories and some bad memories inside of Staples Center. And, if he were to advance to his first NBA Finals, what better way to do it in a building that means so much to you, if you can't do it at home. So shout out to Chris Paul and shout out to the Suns. I'm picking the Suns tonight to beat the Clippers. I think it's going to be one of those tight games that goes down to the wire. And I look forward to Paul George having a big game. But I think that the role players on the Phoenix Suns are going to knock down their shots. They're going to get it done. So I look forward to that game tonight. And shout out to CP3. Shout out to everyone who was tuning in today. This is Go Long Live with Barry Long 2. We are on CoachellaValley.com. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like. Make sure you comment. We just want to interact with you all. And, yeah, thank you again to Craig Campbell from CoachellaValley.com for making everything possible. And, yeah, we're going to be on 3 days a week, and we're just going to be moving forward. How you doing, sir?
Hey, Barry, great job. Way to cover these games. I know it's not that easy going live, but we really appreciate you guys on Today's California and CoachellaValley.com. You could reach us, of course, on Instagram, Coachella Valley, Instagram, Today's California, Facebook, Today's California, and, of course, on Facebook, Coachella Valley. So for you guys that are watching this later on, you can, of course, put any comments you like, and we will be responding, afterward.
Periodically.
Yeah. Let us know where you guys are watching from. That's always fun for us. And we really appreciate every single person that's tuned in today and made comments and participated. This is what it's all about, little interaction. And as we continue on, we might be bringing you guys some contests and some other things. So don't forget to tune in 3 days a week. I think we're going to try Monday, Wednesday, and Friday right here on this same channel. So mark it and come on back, invite a friend, tune in, bring some popcorn and your favorite drink.
Get your popcorn
and enjoy
ready.
Your time.
Absolutely. And you can find me on Instagram at BarryLong_2, or you can find me on Facebook, Barry Long 2, just like it's there on your screen. And just add me and let me know what you think about the show, what you'd like me to talk about. And we're gonna keep moving forward and keep this show going. So as they say in show business, the show must go on. I am Barry Long 2 for Craig Campbell, for CoachellaValley.com, for Today's California.com. Thank you for tuning in. Stay focused, stay inspired, stay motivated. You're capable of anything. Thank you.